Hi everyone, live here from Israel. Want to continue this series within regards to the British media, British television, connection to Israel, within regards to the bias against Israel, and within regards to anti-Semitism, and against Jewish people in general, how they report things over. And as we know, in the year 1948, and onwards, within regards to a few years, nearly around close to 1 million Jews, Mizrachi Jews, were actually expelled from Arab lands. And many of them went to Israel, many went to New York, to Los Angeles. Some people came to London, different parts, Manchester, all over the place. People went to Canada, to France, but there was an expulsion. That's a displacement. Nearly 1 million Sephardi, Mizrachi Jews, whatever, however you want to classify the statistics. One report says 856,000, one report says 900,000, even close to 1 million. That's a lot more than the Palestinians claim were displaced, by the way, with regards to their statistics. But let's compare the statistics over here, friends. Over here in Morocco, just in 1948, it's been reported over 265,000 people, and as of 2018, 2,150. In Libya, there was as many as 38,000, and nowadays barely nobody. In Iraq, massive flourishing religious Jewish community, 135,000 in Iraq, and now there's reportedly around less than 1 million. In Algeria, for example, friends, 140,000 at the time of 1948, and now less than 50. Egypt, it goes further, 75,000. There was a flourishing Jewish community there, and Rav Ovadia Yosef was the chief rabbi there at one stage. But as of recently, only about 100 people. Yemen, another flourishing community, 63,000 Jewish people, and barely, not even 50 now. Tunisia, another fantastic place of fantastic Jewish heritage, as many as 105,000, and now around 1,000 people. Once again, Syria also, many of the Jews were expelled and moved to New York, especially to Brooklyn. 30,000 people in 1948, and now only about 100. And also in Lebanon, just on our border over here, 5,000 people, and only less than 100 now. Also, I'm from Iran, both my parents, and there was a mass exodus of Jewish people from there and from many other places. But how is this relevant within regards to the British media? The British media, especially if you see BBC, ITV, they barely report any documentaries to do with this specific topic. They don't mention anything within regards to this. You don't see any documentaries on the television. It barely takes any news reports. And none of the newspapers, they report about it. There should be 75 years worth of documentaries, interviews within regards to the thing. We didn't get any compensation back, many of the Jewish people did. And it affects a lot of British Jewry. Why is it? Okay, it might be only British Jewry would be 20-25% at maximum of people that actually were directly from there. However, many of these descendants, we've married into each other. Many people in British Jewry nowadays would have a grandparent that was expelled, would have a son-in-law or a daughter-in-law that was expelled, or a brother-in-law or sister-in-law. We'd have grandchildren that will actually have be a percentage of Mizrachi Jews, or people where their ancestors were displaced, that are entitled to compensation. So possibly around 60-70% of the British Jewry, if not even more, would have a direct close relative that had the ancestor that was actually expelled. So my question is to British media is, why aren't they reporting more? You know, there must be also mass compensation that possibly in lands and everything else that is due to this. If these things are reported over, it changes entire Israeli-Palestinian conflict also on overall, because there was much more Jewish people that were displaced than Palestinians, and nothing is reported on it. In my opinion, 75 years worth of documentaries and mass television and mass media has to be dedicated towards what actually occurred to the Jewish people. And we see what the Palestinians have done over these years, where they've actually lost wars. They fought against Israel, against the Jewish people so many times. We won defensive wars out there. Israel did. This land is, there's so much compensation that actually has to be given, and and has to be called out. Barely anything. Piers Morgan challenged a few days ago, like this left-wing reporter called Owen Jones on this thing, but barely you hear anything on this ethnic cleansing that took place to the Jewish people in these Sephardi Mizrachi lands. And it's our duty over here, where we should write to all the local MPs, to write to the political leaders, that they should scream about this. I think the 30th of November is dedicated as a national day to remember these lost Jews, the people that were expelled, but much more has to be done here, and this will actually change the Israeli-Palestinian conflict, in my opinion, because we left so much heritage. Properties were left, belongings were left, people were kidnapped in these countries, people were murdered in these countries during this time period, and there's no voice within regards to it. And now is a time more than ever that we scream within regards to what our ancestors suffered in all these lands, and how we were expelled, and how we lost all our money, how we lost people in our family, how so much suffering we suffered, how much anguish we did. And remember, even before 1948, it wasn't a bed of roses, like one of the Egyptian leaders was just recently saying, only a few weeks ago in the media, how good they were to Jewish people. There were so many blood libels over the hundreds of years that the Jewish people suffered in all these countries. Pogroms we suffered, especially in Mashhad in Iran, where I have family from over there. It was atrocious what took place. What took place, the Entebbe affair, if we recollect, in Syria. These are just a few, to mention so many that occurred over there. And, you know, that we've got to write to the MPs in England, to the British media. They should dedicate documentaries to this, and they should be biased. And imagine if there was a compensation made to this Jewish people, to all the Jewish people that suffered all this thing. You would see potentially, if it was a land compensation, you know, if one's going to be liberal and fair, even Israel will be a lot bigger if it's going to be a fair compensation that is being given to all these people. But this is a game changer. The suffering that and the expulsion of the Sephardi Arab Mizrachi Jews, it's a game changer. If this is brought out in the British media and screamed about, you know, this changes the whole conflict. Talking about the international media, if CNN reports this over more, if NBC News, Fox News, all these places, they scream about this, and we are a shining light or beacon to the whole world. What we've done, we've moved to Israel, we've established ourselves in New York, in Canada, in France, in England, wherever we have went, and continued life and cherished life over there. But we should not also forget what happened here, this expulsion. And it's a game changer, because it's the truth, it's emet. This actually happened to us. We've got to call it out, and we owe our ancestors this also. So friends, everyone out there listening, everyone in British society, we've got to call out what actually occurred to the Arab Jews, these 900,000, and you know, that's going to change the coverage within regards to this conflict. So please watch over the previous videos on this, and we've got to advocate out there now, because we're in a media war at the moment. It's not just a war on the battlefront, where I want to give a bracha, a blessing to all our precious soldiers out there putting their lives on the line. Just someone near us was lost only in the last 48 hours, and it shattered the Bet Shemesh community over here. But we've got to go out there and advocate for Israel and advocate the truth.